Excellent. So it's Thursday, the 26th of January, and we're all getting together for a bit of a LinkedIn session. Having consulted some other members, we decided that a whole hour on LinkedIn was probably more than we needed to do. And as you know, we're fun and fast paced wherever possible. So it'll probably be about 20 or 30 minutes on the LinkedIn tips that I've put together for you. And then we'll do a bit of random speed networking, which is always good fun. And then we might then have a heated debate. Our after parties have become the home of the heated debate, which is great fun. This is kind of half webinar, half networking. So unless you're, as I say, in your pajamas, please do turn your camera on and remain on mute. For those, can I have a show of hands for those of you who haven't joined us before, for whom this is a first visit? Hannes, Aqua, and Catherine and Oliver. Well, you're all very, very welcome. Oliver, how is everything at the old Jet? Oh, you're on mute, I'm afraid, still.
Sorry, rookie error. Yeah, very good, thanks. So just sorting out my sound, but yeah, very good.
It is old Jet, isn't it?
Yeah, we're based on an old Cold War air base.
I love it. I've had a good look at the website. Yes, for the benefit of everyone else here, do have a look at oldjet.co.uk. Oliver and his colleagues are doing some remarkable things to make space available for artists, using old Second World War Air Force buildings with, I think it's containers, shipping containers on site as well.
That's right.
Do have a look. Sorry, I didn't really say welcome. So it's lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for joining. It's great to see some familiar faces, and those of you who are joining us for the first time, thank you very much. My name is Mark Walmsley. I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network. We have 17,000 members in our LinkedIn group, which is great. 42 new members yesterday. We're growing at a rate that will put us over 30,000 by the end of the year, which is just fantastic to have that kind of gang of fellow supportive people. There are effectively two levels of involvement with the Arts and Culture Network. One is the LinkedIn group, which of course is free, but we do offer a premium subscription, which comes with all sorts of benefits for helping you to grow your own network and your progress a career or promote your business. I'm delighted Sarah and Anne are here. Sarah and Anne are our, thanks for the wave, Sarah. Where's Anne? There's Anne. Anne and I had a wonderful half-an-hour chat yesterday, and you promptly joined us for 2 years, which I'm delighted to hear about. That's great. So Sarah, based on our recent conversation, we're on 100% conversion at the moment. Sarah do connect with Sarah, please, because the time I've spent with her and the advice and the rather challenging questions she tends to ask have been absolutely invaluable in the work that we're doing. And Anne and I are going to spend a session, now that you've subscribed, making it easier for people to understand what you do, which is fantastic. I think what words did we come up with, Anne? Shaman? There was one word that we came up with. You're on mute, sorry.
I think the word we ended up with was awakening, but I think it might be reawakening, actually, thinking about it this morning. So
awakening. So if you need some awakening, then Anne's the person to speak to. If we do some random speed networking, do ask her to explain that a bit more. So Matt, good to see you. I don't think we've spoken since we did our top 10 video, which was great fun. I put Matt's on the spot and asked him we did a kind of Desert Island Discs session where what's your favorite building, what's your favorite country, what's your favorite dance group, or what's your favorite opera and things like that. And it's on the journal on the website if you want to watch that. It's great fun. And if anyone would like to do one with me to record and use for promotion, then please do. It's all good fun. Right, so I'm waffling. There we go. This is great. You may wish, if you've got the luxury of 2 screens or to open up your own LinkedIn profile for the purposes of the next 20 or 30 minutes. It's not essential. We're recording this, so don't feel you need to make copious notes. We'll be making the recording of this available afterwards. And in fact, I think some people have registered and can't be with us, but they were registered for the event so that they can receive the video and the presentation afterwards. So yes, so for those of you who just joined more recently, Tamsin, hi. We'll do about 20 or 30 minutes on LinkedIn. It's an introduction, really. It's the key bits that most people haven't done. I think Anne will admit that she hasn't updated her LinkedIn profile since about 2014 or even earlier, but that's one of the things that she and I will be working on together to make sure that works. Excellent. Do please put your contact details in the chat, including your LinkedIn profile, so that we can all get connected. Because for every first connection you have, that first connections become your second connections. So you can expand your network quite considerably doing that. So I'd also love to know where you're all joining us from. So please do make most of the chat. If during the course of the next hour, and we do have a bit of an after party afterwards for those who don't have to rush off at 2 p.m. If there's somebody that you've seen and you'd like to meet already for a longer conversation, do please pop in the chat meeting in capitals followed by their name. If you know somebody who might be able to help one of us, or if you think you can help in some way, put referral and then the name. And then at the end of the meeting, perhaps save the chat. If you forget, just ask us for it, and we can. And we found last time we did this that produced quite a lot of follow on, and the gold is in the follow ups in this. And we've had some fantastic success stories. Anne shared a success story with me yesterday, a connection that she had made, I think, as possibly as far back as May, and that's turned into a collaboration and a project together. So. We've had some great success stories for those of you who haven't been here before. We've had people hired on the spot, which has been fantastic. So excellent. So do pop in the chat where you're joining from, LinkedIn address, so that we can all connect. And if you'd like to meet or provide a referral or ask for a referral, use meeting or referral followed by the first and second name. Right, now I've got to do the Farah's here. Akin is helping me today. Akin is our event manager. Give us a wave, Akin. Excellent. He'll be doing a few screen grabs and trying to remind me of doing things I should have done. So let's crack on. I won't be able to see you when I share this. So if you have a question, or if you can't see anything or hear anything, please just jump off mute and shout, "Mark, I can't hear you," or "What does that mean?" I'll try and keep it straight. Hi, Farah. There's Farah. This is Farah's. Fashionably late as usual. Excellent. Right, let's give this a go. I've learned the hard way that I need to share the screens so that it goes to full screen. Right. Excellent. Then press that, then press that, and then share screen, that, share. Right. Akin, can you see that okay and still see me?
Yep, all good, perfect.
Excellent. Okay, so we're going to spend the next 20 or 30 minutes just a dive into LinkedIn. As some of you may know, I started using LinkedIn in late 2004. I think I was one of the first 100,000 users, and it's like a pension. The earlier you start using it, the better it is. So I'm very fortunate to have quite a significant following on LinkedIn now. And of course, that's helped enormously to grow our network, which we're at 17,000 now. So it's start early if you haven't. Now, some of you will be more expert than me in all of this, for which I apologize. Some of you may not be using LinkedIn much at all. Others may have a profile that you haven't updated or optimized. The 80-20 rule hits in here. 80% of people use 20% of the functionality on LinkedIn. So this is really just an introduction to what you might want to look at, just to incrementally increase your findability and your network. So we're going to briefly cover these topics: networking for career, professional and business development, and why it's important. What is LinkedIn, for those who are not particularly familiar with it, and the numbers, some of which are frightening. How to create and optimize your profile, growing your network, increasing levels of engagement, generating meetings on LinkedIn, and creating community, and also the opportunity now to automate some of that. The Arts and Culture Network is almost exclusively driven by LinkedIn. We have Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, but they're not our primary channel. One of the things I talk about at events, and I'm doing a workshop on it over the next few weeks, have a look at the events page on the website, but it's the concept of minimalist marketing. And I made that decision when we realized that the LinkedIn group was attracting new members without really much effort. That became our primary channel. So that's where it lives. So let's crack on. So networking for career, professional and business development. That's us way back when. Somebody, I'm sure some people must be on there, but no, yes, I'm sure. Oh, Don's there, bottom left. Excuse me. 85%, according to LinkedIn, is the proportion of opportunities that start with a referral of some description. So that might be an introduction to somebody for a contract. It might be a partnership for some creative collaboration, but they tend to be word of mouth based. So for that to happen, it's wise to have a network of people around you who understand what you do, what drives you, and what your passions are. This was not the case 30 years ago, but it's increasingly important to have a network of people to find those opportunities. 80% of professionals cite networking as a concept as vital now in developing careers, professions, and business. And not surprisingly, for those of you who are in the market to find a new role, 77% of recruiters source candidates on LinkedIn. So there's a saying, your network is your net worth, and that's increasingly the case nowadays. And our network is a fantastic place to grow that, to make connections in the arts and culture sector all over the world. So LinkedIn and its numbers, excuse me. LinkedIn is the world's largest professional social network, 875 million users now, which is 21% of all adults in the world have a LinkedIn profile, which is quite staggering. I think it's one of the longest standing social networks that hasn't changed significantly. I think MySpace was probably a thing when LinkedIn started, and that's long gone. Although somebody I think is trying to revive it, which is fascinating. LinkedIn saw a 22% increase in engagement across in last year, and over 16% of LinkedIn users are active on a daily basis, which is 183 million people, which is a large country, effectively, using LinkedIn every day. Over 100 job applications are submitted every second on LinkedIn now, which again is rather staggering. And 8 people are hired on LinkedIn every minute, and that's up 88% on last year, on 2021. It's the second most popular recruitment website. Who can guess what the first is? I can't see you, so you'll have to shout it out. Anyone want to have a stab?
Indeed.
Yes, indeed, it is. Indeed is the top one. I'm sorry if I can't hear you. My speaker turns itself off every now and again. Thank you very much. And significant number of people who need to reach up businesses are using advertising on LinkedIn, although some of the conversion rates are not great. So that's what it is, and that's what the numbers. So rushing on, and I must keep my timer on here. There we go. So I'm going to just run over some of the things that you might want to have a look at, or if you haven't got a LinkedIn profile, start with. These are the key bits. I should also point out at this point, I'm going to do more detailed meetings on this. So this is really an introduction, but what we may well do over the next few months is have a bit more of a practical workshop setting so that you can physically make these changes as we go. So your profile photo, these are the tips that I'd like to share. It should be high resolution. Pixelated photos are not great for people, and they're to try and make it as high resolution. If you can hear my dog snoring, I do apologize. He's on the mat down there. Some of this might sound like common sense, but try and make sure the photograph looks like you, because if you were to meet somebody on a online event or in person, then it would be nice for them to be able to recognize you. And do try and, it's tempting to use 20-year-old photos, but please try and keep it recent. If you're taking a new photo, tip one shoulder towards the camera and drop your chin slightly. Apparently that's going to produce a rather nicer picture than a straight on one. Your face should really take up 60% of the frame. And don't forget that when the photo appears on your profile, it's in a circular frame. It's best to avoid the filters that you might be able to find on your phone, but some people use black and white quite effectively. Akin, I think there's someone in the waiting room. Thank you. Wear something professional and be professional in your pose if you can. I'm sure you'll have seen many people it took a lot of people quite some time to realize that if the light is behind you on Zoom, you're effectively a silhouette. So if you're taking a picture, a new picture for your profile, try and do it in natural light with that natural light in front of you. Please just have you in the photo. I've seen some where people have cropped out ex-boyfriends, I think. Just you, that's fine. And try to avoid there being a distracting background behind you in your profile picture. Smile, important. Look at the camera and take the image if you can from slightly above. Very few of us look better from below. The cover image is the big landscape image that sits behind your profile photo. Use that to tell your story, and because it's another great asset. In summary, be relaxed but professional. And if you've got the opportunity, if you have a friend or a colleague who is a professional photographer, then it makes sense to get some help in that respect. Do pipe up if anyone's got any questions, and jump off mute and shout. You might have to repeatedly shout because my speaker doesn't tend to be very helpful when it's only me that's talking. So there we go, really. Who would you hire? The look that's been achieved in the bottom there is great. Ticks all of the boxes. And Carolyn has used the cover image to communicate even more about her company and what she does and the value of it. The next most important thing, excuse me, is your headline. An awful lot of people just use it for your job title. You can have 240 characters, I believe, in your headline, and that's really important to use it all if you can. Be suavely creative in your copy for that, and a little bit eye-catching with some arresting words that I mentioned lower down. This is when people search on LinkedIn, the headline is referred to by LinkedIn's algorithm to find people, posts, groups and pages. So try and use relevant keywords and emojis with care. And you'll notice on mine, I'm a bit of a pirate when it comes to business strategy. So I've got a pirate skull and crossbones at the end of mine. Yes, use all the available characters in that headline. But do please make the first 6 words count, because those are the only words that somebody will see if you appear in search results. Yes, arresting words if possible. I sometimes refer to myself as the chief culture vulture at the Arts and Culture Network. I count other people's money, accountant at large. If you can build in a little bit of wit there, it'll help. So there we go. There's mine. There's some of you behind me and my profile picture. And as you can see, I've used all of that headline to squeeze in some of those key phrases and words. There is also an about you section on your profile page. It's your summary. It's wise to have one and to make sure it's towards the top of your profile, you can actually change the order. And this is your opportunity to tell your story. It's the first, for many connections, it's the first time that people will start to understand what it is that makes you tick, what you're passionate about, and whether there is an opportunity for partnership, collaboration, commissions. It's your most personal piece of content marketing. And whenever I'm writing, I try to achieve these three things: clarity, brevity, and wit. If you can find something that works in that, you'll find people will be much more engaged with what you've got to say, and are much more likely to connect with you. Again, if you've got the resources, consider hiring a copywriter to do this, or if you're a subscriber of our network, ask me to do it for you for nothing. It can help an awful lot, as you'll see on the next slide. Try and include what matters to you really, what you believe in, why you do what you do, what makes you passionate about it. That also helps. And try and include why your work is important to both you and to your colleagues and the people you do your work for, and if possible, provide some evidence. You can pop links in most of the sections of LinkedIn profiles. You can add media such as presentations, PDFs, links to websites, for example. It's all worth using those. Use relevant keywords again in your summary, but try and avoid the buzzwords. I was once taught by my politics teacher when I was at college that to listen to a politician, and if the opposite of what they say is unacceptable, they're not communicating anything of value. So when Rishi's up there, or any of our leaders are up there saying they want safer streets, a more effective health service, and better schools, sounds great, but the opposite of all of that is utterly unacceptable. So they're not really communicating a value. Try not to fall for that. Some of the words that you might want to use, that everybody else will be using. So try and find that balance between relevant keywords and words that provide some evidence for why you are somewhat special. This I loved. This I found yesterday, actually. I was, this is Katrina Ortiz, if you want to find her on LinkedIn. I'll read it out just quickly, so that, you're probably ahead of me already. I always thought my dream was to be a proofreader for a little indie publishing company, sipping my café con leche and reading the opening lines to the next best-selling vampire novel. It seemed like an appropriate dream given my BA in English, so I gravitated towards proofreading and even started my own proofing business. But I kind of just felt, nah, I yearned to learn more, do something different, and be more creative. And that's when it happened. You'll have to go and find her on LinkedIn to find out what happened. But that I thought was lovely. I want to know more. It's got narrative pull, as writers say. So try and aim for something that's conversational with narrative pull. We haven't got time to go into all of these other areas, but the chances are you're not using them all, and doing so will help people find you based on your skills and your interests. So contact details, yes, there's a section on your profile where you can add your contact details, your website, any social links, and crucially your email address. It's best to use, if you're employed, it's best to use your personal email address. Because you might forget to change it when you perhaps move jobs. I read somewhere that we're averaging 4.1 years in employment in the same organization. But I also read somewhere, Brian Warren's, one of our advisory board members, said that something like 80% of those who work in the creative industries are now freelancing, which staggered me. You can add lots of links to your profile. There's a skills section, and that's worth completing because your colleagues and contacts can endorse you for those skills. And there's a section where you can add hashtags for things that you talk about. So hashtag arts and culture, hashtag fine art, for example, will help people, others find you. There's an open to work section. So if you are a freelancer or a contractor, and you're looking for the next one, you can put a little open to work banner on your image. And there is a section as well for listing out the services you provide. So if you, for example, you work primarily for people in the arts and culture sector, like Sarah does, then you can create little sections for the services that you provide. And featured content is also extremely useful because that appears quite prominently in search results, and you can add links to further reading, for example. Your experience is where you list a receding list of positions that you've held. It's important to make sure that the most recent one is the one that you want people to see, because that's what people will also see in LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is effectively a sort of a premium version of LinkedIn. So, and you can associate links and presentations and PDFs, images with each of those experience slots. Recommendations are great as well. So have a look at the recommendations section to see if you'd like to be recommended. I'm more than happy to do that for those I know particularly well. If you've published, you can list your publications. If you won awards, there's a place for that. All the languages that you might be able to communicate in, what are the causes and any volunteering that you do, your education backstory. There's a skills test you can create that helps people find you based on certain skills. If you've got some licenses or certifications, there's a place for that. There's also a place for courses you might have completed and organizations or representative bodies that you might be a member of. So lots to do there. But those, if you can work your way through all of those, some will be more relevant than others for those of us in our sector. And then growing your network. I'd love to know how many first connections we all have in. So if you've got a moment, do please put the number of first connections you have in the chat. The average is, and 70% of users have fewer than 1,000 first connections. So I think only 1% of LinkedIn users have more than 10,000. Just letting Michael in. There we go. So
Mark, how
do post it. Yeah. Don't worry, it's not a test, or we won't judge you. But in fact, the fewer you have, the bigger the opportunity is really in our network for growing that in LinkedIn. So if you haven't synchronized your email with LinkedIn, you can do, because as you know, LinkedIn is now since 2016 is owned by Microsoft. So there are some significant Outlook and LinkedIn connections, and that allows you to invite the contacts that are in your email to connect with you on LinkedIn. You don't need to do it all in one go. You can be selective, but if you're thinking of a bit of a boost, an awful lot of people don't do this, and this is a very quick way to get those first connections in there, especially if you've had communication with those people before. And as I mentioned earlier, the first connections of your first connections become your second connections, and so there is a significant benefit from starting that. If you encounter somebody and you'd like to connect with them, either because they offer an opportunity, or you might be able to help them in some way, or make a referral for another colleague, you can send a connection request. LinkedIn advise people only to send connection requests to people you already know, but very few people stick to that entirely. So they do offer the opportunity to personalize your connection request with a short message. If you're doing that, it makes, and if you've never spoken to that person before, but they look like somebody who could be really useful for you or a colleague, capture some learned insight from their profile. It might be that you have certain people in common. It might be that you went to the same college. It might be that you've worked at the same organization, or that you share the same interests. People that it helps to just to hint at that in your message. Another great way of growing your network on LinkedIn is to invite people that you meet elsewhere. So today is a perfect example. Grab the chat, go to the LinkedIn profiles of the people who are here today and invite them to connect. You already have a reason for doing so. We were both on Mark's session at the Arts and Culture Network. I'd love to connect, and then continue the conversation. You can add LinkedIn, obviously, to your website, email signatures, and in your other socials, and join groups. I imagine most of you are a member of our LinkedIn group. They're a great opportunity. I think LinkedIn allows you also to send messages, long form messages, to other people in the same group as you. I don't think you're allowed to do it to any great significant, any great number, but that's worth doing as well. You'll find those people. Just conscious that I'm rabbiting on, so I'm going to rush through. Please know that this presentation and the video is going to be available afterwards, and we'll have a moment for any questions you have. Lots of posting, sharing, and tag your targets. So tag me in something that you'd like me to share to my network. And imagery and video works really well. And as I said, 70% of users have fewer than 1,000 connections. So it's a great opportunity if you haven't quite sort of dived in yet. Oh, I wrote that. There we go. Yeah, on that. Why is that not going? Hang on. Very network. Yes, this is it's having lots of followers on LinkedIn is like having lots of money in Monopoly. It's the engagement that comes from that that's really important. So it's about quality and not quantity, really. High quality content will always work really well. Post frequently and regularly and be consistent in the way that you post. Offer people resources. Reply to all comments that people make. Show interest in others first and invite them to comment on some of your posts. Share other people's posts. Use hashtags so that people can find you when they search. Post a poll, ask questions, and try and make sure there's a call to action. Every time I post, I do put my signature in the bottom of the post so that people understand, so people can click through to our website to see if they'd like to learn more. And encourage your colleagues to comment and share. I once met somebody at Lloyds Bank here in the UK. Lloyds Bank have 60,000 employees and they had 200,000 followers on their LinkedIn company page, yet they were only getting 30 or 40 likes or comments on their posts. I said, how is that possible? You've got 60,000 employees. So they should have significantly more. I think they have now. But if you work in an organization or if you're in a partnership or a group, then you might want to consider starting a WhatsApp group. I know another WhatsApp group, but a WhatsApp group that in which all you do is post the link to your post, and then everybody is encouraged to click through to it and share it, comment it. I belong to a WhatsApp group for LinkedIn post sharing, and when I joined it, it doubled the level of engagement with my content. So it's worth considering. Generating meetings. This was Richard. Richard just messaged me saying he couldn't come. He's an actor, but he's also the world's most wonderful Father Christmas. And I had a meeting with him just before Christmas. Some of you may have seen the greeting he recorded for us for Christmas. It's on the website if you want to have a look. So generating meetings are great, and I want to offer one as well. I know that Sarah and Anna and I have met recently, which has been great. Learn a bit about the person you'd like to meet. When you meet them, ask lots of questions, don't pitch at them. One of the things I try and do is to give until they give back. In conversations, I spotted this link and thought you'd be interested. Oh, I downloaded this PDF and I thought of you. Give, offer to help, share, comment and like on their content. Endorse them for their skills, offer to make useful introductions for them. Ask, who's your champagne referral? It might be that person is in my network. I'd be happy to have a look. Share valuable content and links with them, as I mentioned, and mention that you do a free consultation in the signature of a post. That's likely to help. So I hope that helps. Building community. We've just tipped over 17,000 members, which is fantastic. one of the things you can do is to build a community around the subject area that you're involved in, if there isn't one already covered. If you find that it's well served already, join those groups. But otherwise, choose a niche subject area likely to be of interest to the people that you'd like to connect to on LinkedIn. Check it doesn't already exist, start the group, go through the setup process. I can help if you wish. Promote it as widely as possible. Invite your connections to join, and post frequently and keep it updated. We're very fortunate at the Arts and Culture Network LinkedIn group in that we're one of the most engaged groups as a function of membership. So, and we got an award for that, which is great. And reply to everybody who comments in your group. One of the biggest drawbacks of LinkedIn groups is that you can't share outside the group. So it's just for inside the group. And finally, on automation, I use a tool called Linked Helper, which I found is the most subtle, most acceptable way of automating some of the things that you would do on LinkedIn. So, for example, you could ask it to send a connection request to people in a certain group. You could message your first connections. There are limits. LinkedIn has limits on levels of activity per day, and this is very cleverly able to stay within those limits. So if you're really serious about making LinkedIn a primary channel for career or professional or business development, then this is absolutely worth considering. If anyone would like a quick demo of it, 15 minutes, just ask me and I'll show you how I use it. But it's worked particularly well for us. So there we go. That's it. What have I done? 30 minutes. I hope you're all still there.